So this is the Alpha Omega Cronus. I got this in a giveaway on Instagram. So I thought I'd just give it a real quick review. Not the standard full review that I've had. It's a little more than a first impressions, but I'm not going to go into as many details as I would with my standard paddle review. I have been playing with the Alpha Omega Cronus for a few weeks now, on and off. My son played with it, and both of us are pretty impressed with this paddle. I'm going to read off a few interesting specs to you on it. This has got that metallic texture, titanium surface it's called. It's a metallic poly weave, and it gets you some good spin on the paddle. It's good for that. T700 carbon fiber, so it's 8 ounces, comes in at 8 ounces. I added a flick weight to it, which brings it up to about 8.3 ounces. We'll talk about that later. 16.5 inches long, 7.4 inches wide, with a handle length of 5.5 inches. Long enough for two-ease. You probably want one a little bit longer, but I was able to hit two-ease with it. Yeah, been playing with this paddle, and it's been really fun to play with. I've really been impressed with how it plays. I like the way it looks. It's a very unique look. And we'll go to my son in his car talking about this paddle, and then we'll cut back to me.
I just finished hitting around with this, and I've got a couple really good things and one thing that may or may not be a problem in the future. The first thing is the distinct feel of when you're hitting the sweet spot versus when you're not. With a lot of paddles, it can be really hard to tell when you're hitting the sweet spot, and then if you don't hit it just right, the ball just sort of dies off your paddle, and you're like, wow, I didn't feel like I hit it that lightly. I feel like that should have gone farther. But with this paddle, there's a very distinct feel between when you're hitting the sweet spot and when you're not. And so you still have sort of an idea of where the ball's going to go. I wouldn't say the sweet spot is necessarily larger than average, but even if you don't hit it perfectly, the ball is still going to have a decent amount of power and direction when it comes off the face. Now, the awesome thing about this paddle is the ungodly amount of spin that you can get on this. You'll see in some of the videos, the amount of shots that I was hitting and just swinging literally as hard as I could, and they were still landing in, was actually crazy. You almost have to change the way you're swinging at the ball because of how much topspin you're getting, specifically on those longer shots that I was doing, because I'm swinging at it like the way I normally would, and the ball's not even going halfway past the court because it's dipping so hard. The paddle also has a decent amount of power too, so those two combined makes it a lethal weapon for line drives. Now, the thing that may or may not be a problem in the future is the grit on the surface. When I first ran my fingers over the surface of this, it felt almost like sandpaper, but now that I've hit a good amount of balls with it, it doesn't quite feel as rough. I don't know if the grit is actually wearing down already, but the spin seemed to be fine and consistent throughout, so I don't know if this is really a problem that the grit is going to wear off. All I know is that it feels slightly smoother than it did when I first started using it. Other than that, I had a great time using it, and unlike most paddles on the market today, the factory hand wrap doesn't suck.
So I played with this in both singles and doubles. As you saw, my son was drilling with the paddle. When I played singles, it felt a little slow. So what I did was I added a 6-gram flick weight to the bottom of it. I got this paddle in a giveaway along with the flick weight, so I thought, why not review the two together? I was really impressed with how the flick weight actually changed the way this paddle feels. The paddle is actually heavier than the original, but feels lighter and faster in my hand than when I got it out of the box. So it's kind of pulled that weight down with the flick weight. Really impressed with how that worked out. Really impressed with the options that flick weight gives you. I could probably go up to a 9, I think, maybe on this, 9 grams, which would probably bring this close to 8.4, 8.5 ounces or something like that. But yeah, really impressed with this. Even after hitting this multiple times, the grit is still there. Hopefully you can see that metallic pattern in here. It grips the ball. I'm getting good spin on the ball, on serves, and just my regular shots. Backhand dinks, like I said, I was able to get them and kind of roll those over a little bit. It was really nice to be able to do that with this paddle. Couple things. My son mentioned the grip. Yes, out of the box, the grip is great. But here's what I noticed is when I was playing the other day, it was 94 degrees outside. I was sweating like a pig. Plus I had sunscreen on, and I was kind of wiping the sunscreen away from my eyes, and I had a sweaty hand, and I grabbed this thing and it felt slippery in my hand with the sweaty hand. So if you got sunscreen or anything on your hands, you're probably going to want an overgrip on this if that happens a lot for you. It doesn't really happen a lot with me because it's generally not hot enough to where I have to do that. But everything else about the paddle I really like. I like its design. I like the build. It's a really nice paddle. I did notice a little bit of a buzz every once in a while when I was hitting a drive or resetting a drive. But other than that, paddle feels good in the hand. So you can pick the Cronus up from alphaomega.com. When you use my discount code GenXDinks, you'll get a 10% discount, and you'll save yourself a few bucks, and you'll help me out here with my review. So who's this paddle for? I think this paddle is for the intermediate player that is looking to add spin to their game as well as maintain that power. This is primarily an all-court paddle, so if that's what you're looking for, I think this is a good option for you. That's the Alpha Omega Cronus. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.